In the busy streets of Chicago, a 19-year-old girl named Emma finds herself stranded when her wheelchair suddenly breaks down. People walk past without stopping until a 25-year-old mechanic named Jake pulls over. What happens next isn't just a repair. It's a powerful act of kindness that changes both their lives forever. Like, share, and subscribe, and tell us where you're watching from. This heartwarming story of hope, courage, and compassion. Now let's get started. Emma had always prided herself on her independence. At 19, she had learned to navigate life in her wheelchair with resilience, determination, and a quiet strength that inspired those who knew her. Born and raised in Chicago, she had grown familiar with the rhythm of the city. The honking cars, the bustling crowds, the hurried steps of people who rarely noticed the world beyond their own. Today, however, felt different. As she wheeled herself down Michigan Avenue, the sun casting long afternoon shadows on the sidewalk, a sudden click and grinding noise jolted her out of her thoughts. Her wheelchair's wheel had snapped. Emma tried to push herself forward, but the broken mechanism made every movement jerky and painful. Panic began to creep in as she realized she was stuck in the middle of a busy street. People were walking past her, heads down, phones in hand, some offering sympathetic glances, but no one stopped. She took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing heart. She had been in difficult situations before, but this one felt different, exposed, vulnerable, and entirely public. She looked around, scanning the crowd for anyone who might notice her distress. Minutes dragged on. Emma's arms ached from trying to maneuver the wheelchair, and the summer heat made her sweat. She felt the eyes of strangers, some curious, others indifferent. She reminded herself that she was capable, that she could handle this, but doubt gnawed at her confidence. Tears threatened to fall, but she blinked them back. It wasn't just the wheelchair. It was the realization of how invisible people could make someone feel, even in a city full of millions. She shifted her gaze to the street ahead, wondering if anyone would stop, if anyone even cared. Suddenly, a sound of screeching brakes drew her attention. A pickup truck had stopped abruptly beside her. Emma's heart skipped a beat. She watched as a young man, probably in his mid-20s, jumped out of the vehicle. He was tall, with a sturdy frame, wearing grease-stained jeans and a dark work shirt. There was an air of calm confidence about him, and his eyes, under the glow of the afternoon sun, seemed genuinely concerned. He approached her slowly, hands slightly raised, not to startle her. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice steady but kind. Emma hesitated for a moment, unsure if this stranger would leave as quickly as everyone else had. But something in his demeanor, an unspoken sincerity, made her nod. My wheelchair broke," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. He crouched down beside her, inspecting the chair carefully. "Don't worry, I can help." "What's your name?" he asked. "Emma," she replied. "I'm Jake," he said, offering a small, reassuring smile. His presence alone seemed to ease the tension knotting her shoulders. While examining the wheelchair, Jake asked questions, not invasive ones, but enough to make Emma feel seen. He asked how long she had been using it, if she lived nearby, and if she needed immediate assistance getting somewhere. Emma found herself answering honestly, feeling a strange sense of relief wash over her. She realized that in that moment she was not just a person in need of help. She was someone whose story mattered, someone whose struggles were acknowledged. Jake's attentiveness contrasted sharply with the indifference of the passers-by. Emma watched in awe as Jake worked quickly, his hands moving with the skill of someone who had clearly done this countless times. Tools appeared from his backpack as if by magic, and he adjusted parts of the wheelchair with precision. She felt a mix of gratitude and curiosity. Who was this young man, and why had he stopped? Most people would have walked by, perhaps muttering a quick apology. Yet here he was, kneeling beside her, determined to fix a problem that wasn't his. The sight was almost surreal, like a scene from a movie she had never expected to be part of. Passers-by occasionally glanced over, whispering among themselves, but no one approached. It was as if Jake had created a small bubble around them, a space where kindness and attention existed amid the city's indifference. Emma marveled at how comforting it felt to be acknowledged, to be helped without judgment or hesitation. She realized that vulnerability could be terrifying, but it could also open the door to connection. Jake's presence was proof that compassion still existed, even in a world that often seemed too busy to notice. As Jake tightened the last bolt and adjusted the brakes, Emma felt her anticipation rise. She hesitated, unsure if the chair would hold. "Go ahead, try it," Jake said, stepping back slightly. Emma pushed the wheels forward tentatively. The chair moved smoothly, almost effortlessly, and she let out a relieved laugh. "It's perfect," she exclaimed. Jake smiled, shrugging modestly. "Just needed a little tune-up," he said. Emma felt warmth spread through her chest, not just from the restored mobility, but from the human connection that had formed in such a short time. They sat together for a moment, catching their breath. Jake asked if she needed help getting somewhere, but Emma shook her head. "I think I can manage from here," she said, still marveling at the turn of events. They exchanged a few more words, talking about the city, the unpredictability of life, and how small acts of kindness could make an enormous difference. Emma felt a renewed sense of hope. Today had started as a disaster, but now it was a story she would remember forever, not because of the broken wheelchair, but because of the stranger who had stopped to care. Finally, Emma thanked Jake sincerely. He brushed off her gratitude, but she noticed the genuine warmth in his eyes. As he walked back to his truck, Emma felt a strange mix of emotions, relief, admiration, and a spark of connection she hadn't expected. The city around her seemed less intimidating, less impersonal. She realized that while independence was important, accepting help wasn't a weakness. It was a chance to witness the kindness that still existed in the world. With her wheelchair now fully functional, Emma continued down Michigan Avenue. Carrying more than just her mobility, she carried hope. By the time Emma reached the next intersection, she knew that Jake's kindness had left a lasting impression. It wasn't just about fixing a wheelchair. It was about reminding someone that they were seen, valued, and not alone. For Emma, a 19-year-old girl navigating life's challenges, that simple act of stopping, kneeling, and helping had transformed an ordinary day into something extraordinary. She wheeled herself forward, smiling despite the lingering ache in her arms, grateful for the unexpected encounter that restored her faith in humanity. Emma couldn't stop thinking about Jake as she continued her journey down Michigan Avenue. The smooth movement of her wheelchair felt almost magical after the earlier struggle, and yet her mind kept replaying the scene of him kneeling beside her, focused and kind. She realized she wanted to know more about the person who had suddenly appeared in her life when she felt most vulnerable. As if reading her thoughts, Jake walked back toward her after parking his truck, carrying a small toolbox. "Hey," he said casually, "I thought you might need a hand getting to your next stop." Emma felt a mix of surprise and relief. "Thanks," she replied, smiling. "I was just going to head to the cafe down the street." Jake nodded. "Perfect, I know the place. Let me help you navigate through this sidewalk crowd." As they moved together, Emma felt a sense of safety she hadn't experienced in a long time. The city's noise seemed to fade slightly as they chatted lightly about trivial things. Weather, favorite Chicago spots, and the best coffee in the city. The conversation was effortless, and Emma found herself laughing at his jokes, her earlier anxiety melting away with every word. Jake had a way of making her feel comfortable. He didn't rush her or treat her differently, and he asked questions that felt genuine rather than obligatory. "So, how long have you been in a wheelchair?" he asked casually. Emma hesitated briefly before answering. "Since I was 15, she said. "I had an accident, and life changed pretty quickly after that." Jake nodded thoughtfully, showing empathy without pity. "That must have been tough," he said quietly. Emma appreciated that he acknowledged her struggle without making it the center of the conversation. It felt like he saw her as a person, not just someone in need of help. As they approached a busy intersection, Jake slowed down and carefully guided Emma through the crowd. People brushed past, some glancing curiously, but none intervened. Jake's attention remained entirely on her, and she felt a protective comfort in his presence. "You know," he said, "I work at a garage downtown, mostly fixing cars, but I've fixed a few wheelchairs too. It's different, but I like it." Emma raised an eyebrow.
Wheelchairs? She asked.
"Yeah, it's a small thing, but I like helping people get moving again," he replied. Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest. It wasn't just the help, it was the genuine care. They reached the cafe, a quaint little place with outdoor seating and the scent of fresh pastries drifting into the street. Jake stopped beside her, making sure she could maneuver safely around the tables and chairs. Emma parked her wheelchair carefully and looked up at him. "Thank you again," she said. "I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't stopped." Jake waved his hand dismissively. "Honestly, I couldn't just leave you there. It's the right thing to do." Emma smiled, feeling a connection she hadn't expected in the short time they'd known each other. They ordered coffee and found a small table outside. The conversation flowed easily. Emma shared stories about her life, school, and hobbies. Jake listened intently, occasionally interjecting with questions or his own anecdotes. She learned that he had grown up in a nearby neighborhood, had loved working with his hands since he was a teenager, and had a deep sense of pride in helping people in small but meaningful ways. Emma realized that Jake's kindness wasn't just a one-time thing. It was part of who he was. The realization made her heart feel lighter. Hours seemed to pass in what felt like minutes. Emma and Jake laughed at shared jokes and marveled at little coincidences about their lives in Chicago. She noticed how natural it felt to talk to him, as if they had known each other longer than a few hours. She also noticed the subtle ways he checked to make sure she was comfortable, adjusting the chair slightly, moving a chair closer to give her space, and offering her pastries without making it seem like a big deal. Emma realized that this encounter was more than a moment of assistance. It was the start of a genuine human connection. At one point, Emma confided something personal about her struggles, moments when the city felt overwhelming and isolating. Jake listened patiently, nodding in understanding. He shared some of his own experiences, times when he felt overlooked or underestimated. Their conversation became a delicate balance of honesty, empathy, and humor, creating a sense of trust that Emma hadn't felt in a long time. She found herself feeling lighter, as if the weight of isolation she had carried was slowly lifting. This simple interaction, born from an unexpected breakdown, was transforming her perspective on human kindness. After finishing their drinks, Jake suggested they take a short walk to a nearby park so Emma could stretch her arms and enjoy the fresh air. She hesitated for a moment, unsure if she should impose further, but Jake's encouraging smile made her nod. They wheeled through quiet streets, passing small shops and familiar landmarks. Along the way, they shared their dreams and future aspirations. Emma talked about her desire to pursue college, her love of art, and the challenges of navigating life with a disability. Jake spoke of opening his own garage one day and his passion for helping people with practical problems. In the park, they found a bench where they could rest. Emma looked around, taking in the greenery, the laughter of children, and the chirping birds. It felt peaceful, a stark contrast to the chaos of the city streets. Jake sat beside her, keeping a respectful distance, yet close enough that they could continue talking comfortably. Emma felt an unusual sense of calm, realizing that sometimes the simplest acts, stopping, kneeling, listening, could create moments that changed perspectives and lives. She thought about how fleeting and meaningful human connection could be. Before they knew it, the afternoon was fading into early evening. Emma felt grateful but also reluctant to part ways so soon. Jake handed her a small card. "If you ever need help or just want to talk, call me any time," he said casually, but there was a warmth in his tone that made Emma's heart race. She took the card carefully, feeling the weight of the gesture. She knew this was not just a casual acquaintance. Jake had offered something rare, genuine attention, care, and the promise of support without expectation. As they said goodbye, Emma felt a mix of gratitude, admiration, and curiosity about what the future might hold. The broken wheelchair had been a moment of fear and vulnerability, but it had also opened the door to connection, empathy, and the realization that strangers could become friends, or more. She wheeled herself slowly back toward her apartment, holding the card tightly. Her mind replayed the events of the day, each detail vivid and meaningful. The encounter had left a mark on her that she would carry for a lifetime, reminding her of the impact of kindness in unexpected moments. By the time she reached her building, the city lights were twinkling, casting a warm glow on the streets. Emma paused, reflecting on the day's events. She realized that life's challenges often came with hidden blessings, and that help could come from the most unexpected places. Today, a stranger's decision to stop and kneel beside her wheelchair had not only restored her mobility, but also restored her faith in human decency. She knew she would never forget Jake, the young mechanic whose simple act of kindness had transformed an ordinary day into an extraordinary memory. Emma held the card Jake had given her tightly as she made her way up the sidewalk. The city had changed since that morning. What had once felt overwhelming now seemed less daunting. She realized that one encounter had shifted her perspective entirely. The kindness of a stranger had reminded her that even in a crowded, indifferent city, people could pause and genuinely care. The thought of Jake stayed with her. His calm confidence, his attentive nature, the effortless way he had made her feel seen. She smiled despite the fatigue in her arms, knowing that some moments were meant to leave a lasting impact. Over the next few days, Emma found herself replaying the encounter in her mind. She thought about the way Jake had listened, the way he had fixed her wheelchair with care, and the ease with which he had connected with her. She realized that in those brief moments, a bond had been formed, a connection built on trust, compassion, and shared humanity. Emma felt a strange anticipation, wondering if she would see him again. She had grown used to navigating life alone, yet the thought of having someone like Jake in her life gave her a flicker of hope she hadn't felt in years. Jake, too, couldn't stop thinking about the encounter. After returning to his garage, he found his mind wandering back to Emma. There was something about her resilience, her warmth, and her spirit that lingered with him. He had helped many people before, but few had left such an impression. He recalled the way she had smiled when the wheelchair finally moved smoothly, the gentle humor in her voice, and the spark of vulnerability she hadn't tried to hide. He realized that helping her had become more than just a task. It had been an experience that reminded him why he enjoyed what he did, why helping mattered. A few days later, Emma received a text from Jake. "Hey, hope your wheelchair is still running smoothly. Want to grab a coffee this weekend?" Her heart skipped a beat. She smiled widely, feeling excitement and nervousness at the same time. For the first time, she felt that she wasn't alone navigating her city or her life. She replied quickly, eager to see him again. That weekend, she found herself outside the cafe early and fidgeting with her wheelchair. When Jake arrived, carrying his usual calm demeanor and an easy smile, her nerves melted. The day felt like the continuation of a story she had been waiting to unfold. They spent hours talking, laughing, and learning more about each other. Emma shared her dreams of pursuing college, her love of painting, and the challenges she faced daily navigating the city in her wheelchair. Jake listened attentively, offering insight, encouragement, and humor. He spoke about his plans for opening his own garage one day, the satisfaction he found in fixing things, and the fulfillment he felt in helping people. With every word, the connection deepened. Emma felt a rare sense of being understood, respected, and seen for who she truly was, beyond her disability. As the weeks passed, their bond grew stronger. They explored Chicago together, visiting parks, museums, and little-known coffee shops. Jake always made sure Emma was comfortable, adjusting her wheelchair when necessary and offering his hand when streets became challenging. Emma marveled at how effortless it felt to be around him, how their conversations flowed naturally, and how each encounter left her feeling lighter and more hopeful. The city that once seemed overwhelming now felt like a place where meaningful connections could happen, where kindness could open doors to friendship, understanding, and perhaps something more. One afternoon, while they were sitting by Lake Michigan, Emma opened up about the loneliness she sometimes felt, even in a crowded city. Jake listened quietly, nodding, and shared his own experiences of isolation and self-doubt. There was a mutual understanding, a silent acknowledgement that life had been challenging for both of them in different ways. They talked about family, friends, and aspirations, and the conversation became a bridge of trust. Emma realized that vulnerability, which had once seemed frightening, could create deep bonds when met with genuine care. She felt grateful for Jake's presence in her life, a reminder that compassion could transform ordinary moments. Jake encouraged Emma to pursue her dreams, reassuring her that her challenges didn't define her abilities or limit her potential. He admired her independence and resilience, and she admired his dedication and kindness. Together, they celebrated small victories, navigating a particularly busy street, completing a painting, or successfully managing a task that had seemed daunting alone. These shared experiences strengthened their connection, creating memories that neither of them would forget. Emma began to understand that while life's struggles were inevitable, having someone who cared could make the journey not only manageable but also meaningful. Months passed, and the initial encounter with the broken wheelchair became a cherished memory for both of them. Emma's confidence grew, and Jake's admiration for her spirit deepened. They had become more than friends. They were companions who understood each other's challenges and celebrated each other's successes. Their story, which began with a simple act of kindness, had evolved into a profound connection built on trust, empathy, and mutual respect. The city, once a place of struggle and isolation for Emma, now felt alive with possibilities, friendships, and the warmth of human connection. One evening, as the sun set over the Chicago skyline, Jake and Emma sat on a bench overlooking the water. The sky was painted with shades of pink and gold, reflecting on the calm lake. They talked about life, dreams, and the unexpected ways that people can impact each other. Emma looked at Jake and realized how much he had changed her perspective on the world, on trust, and on the importance of kindness. She smiled, knowing that their story had started with a broken wheelchair but had grown into a journey of connection, hope, and unexpected joy. As the day came to an end, they wheeled back to the city streets together side by side. Emma felt a sense of belonging she hadn't experienced before. She realized that life's challenges were easier to face when shared with someone who truly cared. Jake's presence was a constant reminder that small acts of compassion could ripple into significant changes. She held his hand briefly, squeezing it gently, grateful for the journey they had started together. That simple gesture symbolized trust, friendship, and the promise of a future filled with shared moments, laughter, and unwavering support. By the time Emma returned home, she reflected on how far she had come in just a few weeks. A broken wheelchair had initially left her feeling helpless and isolated, but it had led to a connection that reshaped her world. Jake's kindness, attention, and unwavering support had taught her that even in difficult times, there were people willing to pause, listen, and make a difference. Emma felt a sense of empowerment, understanding that vulnerability could lead to strength, and that genuine human connection was one of life's greatest gifts. The story of that day in Chicago, the broken wheelchair, the crowded streets, and the stranger who stopped, had transformed into a narrative of hope, friendship, and unexpected joy. Emma knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, she had someone she could rely on, someone who saw her, understood her, and valued her presence. Jake had not only fixed her wheelchair, he had helped repair a sense of trust and optimism in the world. Their journey together was a testament to the power of empathy, the importance of compassion, and the beauty of human connection in the most unexpected moments.